I am a speech language therapist at La Prairie Speech Therapists. That's my practice. I'm based in Hatfield in Pretoria, and I have my own my own platform as well where I post videos. So that's kind of where I met Osna Lady, and then yeah, we started just having conversations and all of those things regarding what it is that I do and what speech therapy is about. So what will be discussed today? Um, yeah. So wait, I'll come back to this. So what will be discussed today is from my side, based on my scope. Um, Sugar dumpling, I'm not sure what term I used, but you see, the thing is, I try to stay within what is relevant at the moment and what it's being called at the moment. And I'm speaking from maybe a position of somebody who was working in the Department of Education, and we call it intellectual disability. Remember, in the past, it used to be called this word that I really dislike so much. Unfortunately, it used to be called mental retardation. So a few years ago, after a lot of advocacy, they did away with that word, and I'm so happy I did that. At any point when I hear someone use that word, I don't even like saying it. When I hear someone use that word, I just tell them, okay, before we go forth, just know you will not use that word around me, because it's very derogatory and it's very insulting. So I do still, I mean, I'm no longer in Department of Education. I've left, and I'm since then I've been on my own in private practice, but I am still familiar with the department. I'm still familiar with their policy statements. So you will hear me use some terms that are still used today. But yes, learning a disability, but some of them are disorders, remember guys. So it's not always that there's a difference between a disability and a disorder. Yeah. Okay. Our main host is back.
So, Lapri, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And exactly 5 minutes. What's about when I started, I did say this, right? There will be a lot of distraction.
Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior Jesus, Lord, we thank you. We thank you for this moment. We thank you, Heavenly Father, because you are God yesterday, you are God today, and you'll be God tomorrow. Heavenly Father, we thank you that there's no amount of distance, no time that can keep us from gathering, Heavenly Father, in your name, because your word says that where two or more gather, Heavenly Father, they in our midst you shall be if we gather in your name. So, Heavenly Father, we invite you, we give you legal right to come into the session, to lead, to guide, and to protect, Heavenly Father. We pray that may your Holy Spirit anoint our lips, and may everything that flows through our mouths, Heavenly Father, be a true representation of who you are. We thank you, Heavenly Father, that in this moment we get to encounter, that people will get to encounter assistance and help, Heavenly Father. So we thank you for this platform. In the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you, Father. We thank you, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Miss Dumbling, I see you there, but there's a way that, amen and amen. There's a way that I wanted to go through this session. I wanted Koketo to come in, introduce herself. Who is she and what is she in this industry? And I think you've done that, Koketo, already. And then step two, I wanted us to go straight to the learning disabilities A, B, C, D, and E. Because some of you are going to find your answers in what she is going to talk about, instead of Miss Dumbling coming in and saying what is ADT, HDD. Probably Koketo is going to cover that in when she is describing the types of learning disabilities that are out there. So right now I'm going to do this orderly. So firstly, I'm going to give her a chance to introduce to us the learning disabilities that she knows, that she has come across with, before I make it a debate, my love, before I let you guys engage. Because some of you are going to find your answers. You are going to find your answers in whatever that she has prepared for us. So instead of, and again, I don't want her to be all over the place. Let's not touch dyslexic and then jump into a child that doesn't eat. You understand? So
Mm.
let's go according to order. There's a child that doesn't see the figures, there's a child that doesn't see the numbers, and this condition is called A, B, C, and D. There's a child that cannot grasp mathematics, and this child is considered blah, 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 blah. You
Yeah.
see, so as she's going along, I guarantee you, you are going to find your answer. And then when she is done, then I am going to open the platform so that whatever concerns or questions that you might have, then you come in and then we debate. Koketso, I will let you shoot.
Okay, I'm gonna try and to firstly say is that I'm going to firstly touch on learning disabilities or learning disorders rather that are within my scope. So the ones that I usually see in private practice, as well as others where we would see more than one type of professional. So the ones that are in my scope would be firstly what I see for school going kids is auditory perceptual difficulties. Auditory perceptual difficulties or auditory perceptual disorder. And this is basically what does your brain do with what it hears? You'll find that you'll have children where the teacher says, the child can hear, but it's as if she can't hear. She can hear, but now when she has to execute instructions, then there's a breakdown. So that would then mean that there are difficulties with analyzing that information, with discriminating between two sounds that sound the same. So before I go on a little bit more into auditory perception, I'd like to bring you back to in terms of auditory processing. So as I said, what your brain does with what your ears hear, we look at 5 areas. We look at auditory analysis, so that is your ability to break down information. You do a lot of that in maths, so especially in word sums, where they'll say so and so has 3 buses, and then this person came with 2 trucks, and then how many vehicles do you have? You have to analyze that information, and then you have your answers, right? So in maths, you see a lot of analysis. So you'll have auditory analysis. You need to be able to break down information, and you need to do it with what you hear. Then you have auditory memory. So how well does your child remember the things that you tell them? How well do they remember their homework that they were given? Especially if the teacher says, okay, tomorrow I want you to do page what to page what, and you find that there is no visual representation. She's just saying it from her desk, saying, you must remember this. Or sometimes they'll say, okay, you must tell your parents at home that tomorrow you're going to wear civilian clothes, no uniform tomorrow. Or even you at home, you send your child and say, okay, I want you to buy bread and cold drink and chappies at the spaza shop, and they come back and they only remembered 1 out of the 3, or they didn't remember either, or they remembered some, and so that would be auditory memory, and that's very important because at school we need to remember the things that we are taught. And then we have now auditory discrimination. Auditory discrimination is how well you're able to hear, to differentiate between sounds that words that sound the same but are not the same. So if I say cap and cat, they almost sound the same but they're not the same. So that is auditory discrimination. You'll see this in kids who also tend to do the wrong, like when you give them instructions, then they go off and they do something completely different because they thought you said something which you said the other. Sequencing, auditory sequencing. This is very important, especially in the in the language subjects, subjects that don't have a lot of numbers, where you're told a story and then you're told to narrate the story back. So if you say to your child, go and tell our next door neighbor we need a pot of this and some skir pot and all those things, or like a pot scrub and whatever, and when they get home they cannot tell you what they told the neighbor. So they cannot narrate a story back. They cannot narrate events back to you and say, oh, at school, so and so did this. They're getting it jumbled up. That is a difficulty with auditory sequencing. And then we have auditory closure, bringing information back, saying in a nutshell, summarizing your ability to summarize in a nutshell, this is what happened. That is auditory closure. This all has to do with with what you heard. So this is information that's given to you through the ears, through like using your auditory um structures, and are you able to do all those structures, all those things? So that is auditory perceptual difficulties. If you see a fallout. Okay,
Hold on, Koketso.
as please, yeah.
Let me give you a breather there. Would you say this generation, they are more prone to these learning disabilities?
Definitely.
And what's the cause of that?
So the thing is, that is actually, yes, they are more prone to it, but it's not necessarily osnality that they're more prone to it. Is the fact that we are seeing it more because we have more information now.
Oh, okay.
So it,
Continue, sis.
yes, they are. You find that, I said, if you actually think about the areas of auditory processing that I just mentioned, you'll be able to think, man, I know someone, in my
Oh,
classroom who wouldn't be
okay.
able to do this. But you find that they unfortunately drop out of school because at that time, especially, there were no proper structures in place to transfer them from mainstream education to special education, or there were no, there wasn't a lot of knowledge about us, the therapists, the occupational therapist and the speech therapist. So yes, that is the case, that we are seeing them more, but not necessarily that they're more prone. And if anything, having the structures in place has helped, because a lot of schools where you admit your child, or you send your child to, they already have a speech therapist and an OT, and it comes part of the school fees package, that they deal with it as they find it, that you don't
Mhm.
end up realizing your child had these difficulties.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is a nutshell of auditory processing. But another one that we tend to see as quite popular now as well is your ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So it is characterized by hyper activity. The kids are very busy, they don't sit still, and they're quite impulsive as well. So you can never really say what it is that they're gonna do next. You tell them, okay, stand here, don't move, and then the next thing you know, they're running on that other side of the street or whatever. One thing that's very important about ADHD is that it's important for parents to know the attention span milestones, because if a child presents like that, and they come in for a diagnosis, let's say with a neurologist or pediatrician and all of that, and they're coming in at 2, and the doctor says to you, nope, this is fine. It is mainly because of the fact that at that age, there's still a lot of low levels of attention we are expecting. So even if you can see, okay, this is probably going to go left, as in the child really may present later as someone who has an ADHD, the fact that they're still within that range where this behavior is considered normal, then you do not get a diagnosis. So that's why we tend to wait a little bit more. I mean, now they're able to diagnose a child with ADHD at like age 3, age 4, but it's not always the case, because it is at the prerogative of the professional that's diagnosing. They may feel that, what, this child is a bit too young. And also there are diagnosing criteria, guys. So classifications. You don't just see a child that's busy and then quickly we say that's ADHD. We need to look at what other things are happening. Is it sensory? Is it that they are, they're getting confused or overwhelmed by a lot of noise and activity around them? Or is it really ADHD? So that is one of the things that we tend to see. And what I wanted to say is that, and I'll move on to the next learning disability by saying this. A lot of parents tend to think that if a child has ADHD, they'll automatically present with autism. And
Oops.
before I go into that, I would just like to say that that is not always the case. A child can just present with just ADHD alone, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they have autism. Also,
Yes.
ADHD doesn't necessarily mean a child will have difficulty with communication. So that is one thing that, and ADD as well, attention deficit disorder. The difference between the two is that one has hyperactivity in it, and the other one, it's just a difficulty with attention, just inattention,
Okay.
struggling to do schoolwork because of inattention, but no hyperactivity may be present there. And then now we move on to autism. I don't know if Osna Lady has any questions. If you have any questions, because I'm just
No, go with it. Let's go to autism now.
yeah.
So, okay, hold on. Yeah, go to autism.
Yeah.
Continue, coach.
So I just now touched on auditory perceptual difficulties, ADHD, and ADD. By virtue of touching on ADHD, then I went on to ADD by explaining the differences. Now, autism, this one has,
Yeah, this one
firstly, it
is
has
messy, hey? It's
a
messy.
big,
Is this the one, Koketo? Can it be detected ha ngwana santsane a le, during pregnancy?
so that is Down, I think you're talking about Down
Okay.
syndrome.
Okay.
So autism, yes, that one, I agree with you. It's quite basic because we are seeing firstly an increase in the diagnosis, the autism. So it's getting all the parents very nervous. If their child is not talking, hey, immediately they think a child is autistic. So I'm thankful for this platform because I'm going to try to demystify quite a few things. Autism is a neurological disorder. It is a learning disability, but more so, let me explain why I say it's a neurological disorder. It's that there are other areas under autism that would say are disordered. So autism is a neurological disorder that affects social interaction, it affects language development, it affects just even like the sensory regulation around it, like your ability to regulate your senses. It affects, it affects a lot of things. It can even affect your motor skills, your muscle skills. That's why when I say motor, I'm talking about bless me. If I'm talking about
Bless you.
thank you. Talking about your motor skills, I'm talking about your muscles. So your fine motor skills and your gross motor skills. Fine motor, small movements. Gross motor is big movements. And then obviously it tends. Thank you, Abiba. It also tends to affect your communication skills, and that is one area where we see a lot of fallout when it comes to autism. Now, or ASD, rather, it's autism spectrum of disorders. The word spectrum is very important here because you need to know that it is they diagnose it in levels, but because the classification tool they're using has since changed, it's very difficult to say level one is this, level two is this, because it changes, no? So, the word spectrum there is very important because yes, that's why I said that autism itself is not the learning disability. It is a neurological disorder and it is characterized by certain difficulties. So, in any case, now I've lost my train of thought. I'm not gonna look at the comments.
Please
So,
don't look at the
yeah.
comments. Just
So,
go.
yes. So the
I
word,
said I will open the people to come in and join. So someone
yeah,
who's coming in and saying autism is not a learning disability, we know that already. You've
yeah,
told that it's something to do with your neurons.
yes.
Continue,
So
okay.
yes, it's neurological. So now communication is the biggest part where we tend to see fallout with children who have autism. And obviously, there's a certain level of communication, or there's actually a high level of communication you need to be able to do at school in order to learn well. As I said, you need to be able to process information auditorily. And now, if your communication skills are not up to par to where they should be, you're not going to be able to understand the language that the teacher's using, and you're not going to be able to communicate verbally back to the teacher when they ask you questions. Thirdly, writing down answers is a form of communication. It's actually one of the things we tend to check when someone has, for example, had a stroke or whatever, to say, can they communicate using writing? So those areas tend to be affected. Then if the child also presents with fine motor difficulties, then writing will be affected as well. So by virtue of all those areas being affected, it affects learning as well. If a child has difficulty with processing what they see, remember, speech therapy, we treat and we focus on auditory processing difficulties. But our occupational therapists, they tend to also treat visual processing or visual perceptual difficulties, which is basically what does the brain do with what your eyes see. But I'm not going to go too deep into that. It's not my scope. But if your visual perceptual skills have also fallen um, are not where they should be or are not up to par, then you're going to see difficulties with learning as well. So because I said autism is a spectrum, you tend to find what they're now using as the latest terms is high support needs and low support needs. So your children with low support needs are the children who may be able to communicate quite well, but they have difficulties with social interaction and maybe there's some impulsivity there as well. But your high level of support kiddies are the ones, or the school going people, or high level of support people rather, are those who would be struggling with potty training. They're struggling with communication. They're struggling with textures of food. They are, they're very picky. That's another thing that we tend to see with kiddies that are on the spectrum of autism, is that they tend to be very picky as well with feeding, depending on where they are also on the spectrum. And it's not a one size fits all. So they're very picky with feeding, so you find that maybe it may affect their nutrition. Just so many things that we would see for children who are who require a high level of support. So that speaks already to the kind of support they would need: your speech therapist, your occupational therapist, your different types of therapists. And then your high level of support, your low level of support, um kiddies with autism, they may just present, as I said, maybe with just communication difficulties and maybe some sort of psychological difficulties, because they may also present with a lot of social anxiety, which they may find that maybe a psychologist may be able to help them overcome. But in essence, they would be able to go well into the working world and basically lead what is considered a normal life. So those are our main learning disabilities. And then you have children who, or just we could just call it a learning disability. It's not specified with a specific name. The child is just struggling. They do not fall within the criteria of a certain disability. So then we would say, okay, the child has an intellectual disability. That's why when I started, I was saying, the jargon that we use, especially in the Department of Education, it tends to not make sense to other people who are outside of it. So that's where we would say that a child has an intellectual disability, because they present maybe with your muscle difficulties, they present with your auditory difficulties, your visual difficulties, but they don't fit the criteria of any disorder. They don't fit the criteria of any disability. So then they're kind of just floating there. I hate to use that word, but we call it, we'll say intellectual disability non-specified. So basically what we're saying is, it is there, but it doesn't have a specific name. It hasn't been labeled. It hasn't been given a title. So yeah, I think perhaps I can give over to you, Osna Lady, and then if there are others that I haven't spoken about but the questions are relevant, I'll go into that.
That's what I did, Koke. So thank you so much. Lina, I've been writing my questions on the side here.
Okay.
Miss Dumpling, I can see that you are trying to connect. Now I know Buye when I was doing the program long time ago, when I was talking about disability in South Africa, and Buye came in, and that's how I got to know Buye. And that is how I started following him and he started following me. Now, from what I could remember from Buye's story, I will let him narrate his story because I think Buye was born with a disability.
Okay.
And I think while you were talking, Koketso, I saw him typing, I have that as well. I think where somebody goes to the kitchen and they look around the kitchen and then they're like, what am I looking for? And I think a child would be shy to say, sure, how do I go back to my mom and say, and they just asked you to go and get sugar. But you get to the kitchen, the mind is now all over the place. And this is a child, this is a 10-year-old. And you're thinking, so please agree with me. We are so quick to say, but
Yeah.
home. We are so quick to say,
But late.
how can you forget sugar? I remember even my aunt. My aunt was so close to take these children to hospital. My aunt said there's something wrong with them. You send them to the kitchen. Offense, someone gets it a day. Next one. And you look at them, you like, and and watch TV, and life goes on.
Yeah.
And you, as a parent, you are like, did he forget to? So
What happened?
I'm gonna let Buye introduce himself and tell us, Huri, why at that point he thought that is me. You are talking about me. Hello, Buye, welcome. And Buye, please switch on your camera. I know
Hello.
you're such a handsome dude.
Yeah, I'm at work. That's a problem.
Okay, no problem. But mina nyakwazi, Buye. I know,
Hi.
born handsome
Yeah.
young,
Hi.
but
Hi, everyone.
that is Buye.
Right.
How you doing? Ninjani?
Siyaphila,
Sepila.
Putong. Buye, just get to that part
Um,
when Ukokeso was talking. You said, that's me. I want to know, how did you relate to her when she was talking?
um, when she was talking, she was like, people forget, like when somebody sends the person to go get something or go buy something, then abuye nento A1, but not all of things from the shop. And ukuthi like when the person it's ufuna like to explain something, to another person, but the person cannot explain very well ukuthi what the previous person was saying, what the
Mm,
previous person was sending. So like it's so hard ukuthi for me, like I remember when my mother was still alive, my grandmother, but I call him my mother. Would like she used to send me something in kitchen, then like I will forget what she did send me. Then I have to go back
yeah.
to my mother. Then I'll say, Konja mama, what did you send me? So like I said, bring the milk. Then sometimes it will happen with okay, I take something from outside. I have to go put it in my room. Then chili chili. Now I'm entering the bathroom. Now I was supposed to go to my
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Then she like, what were you thinking? So it's hard sometimes when I meet my other family, and some of them they don't understand what's happening, what's going on with our cousin, what's going on with our nephew.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Koketo, you did touch on that, and Elena, I added on it. So I think what Buye is trying to explain, they are saying, Buye, go buy orange, mango, and bread. But Buye will only come back with bread because he has forgotten the apple and the mango. Now, when he comes back to the house, he does not remember the the other two items that were added onto the list. And Koketso, how do we go around this thing that Buye is talking about? And another thing Buye added, you are being sent to the bedroom, but you go to the bathroom. I think I've seen that happening as well. Is it a distraction? What happened there? Yeah. And then a child
Yeah.
comes back with the wrong item.
Mm.
Now, how do we go around this situation as parents?
So, the thing is, actually, remember I was speaking about um that there are certain ages at which we consider that certain things must be gone, because from, let's say, while a person is still a baby until, let's say, age 3, we consider that behavior normal. It's
Yeah.
still the same with your, I think, around 3.5 years, where actually I wouldn't even say 3.5, because that is what is put out there, that by 3.5, things like that should be gone. Those type of things should be resolved. But what we're finding is that the children are actually acquiring language a bit later. So I think how I'd like to put it is that after age 4, that should not be something that you're seeing. So the thing is, now I'm gonna kind of turn to the Black community and say,
Yeah.
we don't really we send children for the same things all the time, so we don't pick it up. It's always go throw in the dustbin, go throw in the dustbin, go get your shoes and go put your shoes away. So we do not really pick it up. And a lot of the other things that we feel like, I man, she won't be able to because she'll make it untidy. We don't ask them, then we go and we do it ourselves. So we don't get to pick it up at that age. But at around age 4, a child should be remembering, if you give them, go get your shoes, they should go and get their shoes. Go get your shoes and go get especially if it's something unrelated, go get your shoes and then go get your doll. Those are two, we call it 2-step instructions. So at that age, when they are not doing it, don't panic as yet. Start giving them a lot of that activity, of the task, but don't put a lot of pressure on them, because one of the things that tends to make this situation worse is the pressure. You are given, you must come back now with it. And then secondly, you are afraid, because now if you go back, they're gonna be like, oh, now again, you're forgetting. So you can start actually helping your child in that way by giving them a lot of these small tasks to do around the house. Don't underestimate the power of learning in your natural environment. So you can start then by sending them, but with limited pressure. Sometimes send them for their own things, because they're familiar, so they're a bit more comfortable, they're familiar with those things. Then you start to say, okay, go and get this and go and get this, and then you just keep on checking. Are you finding it? Are you finding it? Look, I know that it sounds like, oh, but in a perfect world, unfortunately, that is the kind of things we're going to have to implement if we are to help our kids, especially because if you come to me and you ask me what should I do at home, that's what I'm going to tell you to do at home. I'm going to start saying, capitalize on the environment that you're in. Don't go buying expensive toys as yet. Capitalize on the environment that you're in and start implementing those little activities where you're sending them to go do this and this and this, and try to get them comfortable doing those activities at home before you're giving them 20 rands to go buy mango, banana and bread. So once they're able to build up that confidence, then they're more willing to do. And once they feel safe, knowing that you're not going to just clap them the moment they come and say, I have forgotten. That is one thing that I tend to recommend, especially for kiddies who are around your 4, 5, and 6. But if you're noticing this in your child who's of school going age, you see it in the home environment, you're going to see it in their schoolwork as well. You're going to see that they are, and it's things that they're forgetting. You sit here with your child, you teach them, they're able to do it. They now go to school and then they are not able to do it. And then now sometimes it seems like you and the teacher are experiencing two different kids, because I get it, they go to school and then now they can't do it at school, but here at home, they're able to. So firstly, it's important to be on the same page with your teacher, your child's teacher. The other time we're speaking about the education system. But if you know your child struggles with this, don't hide it from the teacher, thinking that maybe with her it will not show, because that is one of the biggest frustrations that I experience now with my outpatients, with my yeah, we call it outpatients coming in. You see, okay, this child, you ask the parent, has he always been experiencing this at home? Yes. Is he experiencing it at school? Well, yeah. And then does the teacher know that he was experiencing it at home as well? No. Why? Because you can't collaborate for your child if you with the teacher if you are now holding 50% of the information and she can only give you 40 because she spends only 5 hours with him in the day. It's important to be on the same page with the teacher. And it's important that the moment early intervention is important. So we usually say that from age 1 until age 6, that is when it's important to intervene for a child, because there are so many processes around the brain that we can kind of still, like like to align and to fix and stuff like that. We still say that in those 6 years of life, the brain is still nice and juicy. You can still do a lot with it. So the moment you notice that within that age range, hit the ground running, get the necessary people in place. And what I say is, as a speech therapist, I am guided by principles. There are ethical principles I need to adhere to. So if there's nothing wrong and your child is of typical development, my assessment results will show that. And that will then tell you, okay, well, I thought he's struggling, but at least somebody who's experienced in this has confirmed that nothing is wrong. But also, if I say that something needs work, I will also, in my recommendations in my assessment report, tell you this is what must happen, this is what must happen, this is what must happen. So don't be afraid to seek intervention, one. And then secondly, make sure that everybody's on the same page. Be patient with your child when you identify that they've got this issue, but be patient with action. Don't just be patient and then think they're going to overcome it. Help them overcome it. And stay away from Dr. Google, because Dr. Google has caused a lot of issues. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take Miss Dumbling now, but because Buye is already in his 30s.
Yeah. Osna lady, can you please give me just 2 seconds? I'll be back. Someone is knocking by my door.
Okay, cool. Okay, Miss Dumbling, let's get you in before you forget your chain of thought.
Hi everyone, good morning.
Hey,
So happy that I've managed to catch you. I'm not at work today. So also with the time difference and everything, I was able to get the notifications. I'm really happy to be here. This is a fantastic topic, and I hope people are going to actually learn a few things from here. The thing is, in our African communities, we tend to not recognize learning disabilities or disorders. We are quick to label the children as naughty, as dumb, as slow. You hear those kind of things. No, oh, slow. They don't want to follow up or seek any medical intervention. Instead, they go for what I would like to term as exorcisms. They get taken to different places. They get, it's really heartbreaking. And I'm just so glad that none of those type of people have come on your platform today. I was waiting for them because it's so traumatizing and it's so traumatic, having to go through certain things because of something that you cannot help. We have situations where parents get told by their school teachers or by nursery practitioners that, you know what, your child is finding it difficult to interact with other children. Your child is finding it difficult to talk. He's not saying his words when he's supposed to. Can you have him checked out? But then the parents are in denial. Not my child. My child is normal. There's nothing wrong with my child. And by doing that, they're delaying the process of that child getting early intervention. and they also cannot get the assistance that they're supposed to get. I'm fortunate enough to be living in the UK. If you have a child who's got a learning disability, you get so much support from social workers, family support workers. You've got the school working with you. You also get funds to get equipment that this child needs. So for example, I'll give an example of one of the uh, needs that a child with autism has. They might have sensory difficulties, which means bright lights, flashing lights, loud noises. They can't tolerate them.
Yes.
But then you notice that your child is sensitive to these things. What do? Instead of supporting your child, you are now exposing that child to these loud noises and actually laughing when they're hiding or when they get distressed. This is what things that are happening in our communities.
Yeah.
You're telling them, I'm forcing them to be strong. They have to be strong. They've got no choice because they've got this condition that stops them from regulating things properly or regulating things as you would. So, and then you also have children who are non-verbal. They'll tell you, oh, it's a demon, it's a spirit that's stopping them from talking. There's always a negative reason why something is the way it is. It's never anything logical. You know, being on the spectrum or having Asperger's or having ADHD, especially ADHD, you will get beaten up by all sorts of belt, shoes, whatever, because you are naughty. You cannot sit still. However, platforms like this raise awareness for these kind of social issues and things that people are going through. Because you hear terms like, oh, if it was me, I would have been beaten up. Why are you allowing your child to climb on top of the fridge? Why you're not allowing them? But because your child does not understand certain things, you it's difficult to explain, to somebody who is dismissive of certain things. A child is not naughty just for the sake of being naughty. Naughty is stealing sugar. Yes? Naughty is not screaming and breaking things because there's a loud noise that has caused them to react that way. If, say, for example, some babies, in fact, if there's a loud noise that they didn't expect, they'll start crying because they've been frightened. Now, an adult or a young adult or a child, if the same thing happens to them, they react maybe by running off. They can run into the road and get hit by a car, or they can, find a corner and hide in that corner or just refuse to engage. It's people who don't have, who struggle with social anxiety. They don't want to socialize. They don't want to talk to people. They just want to be on their own. They find it difficult to build relationships with other children or with their peers, but all of this gets dismissed as they are difficult, they are this, they are that. How about being compassionate and trying to find out what is the cause of it and, how you can offer assistance, you know? But there's also like some children who are autistic, they like biting plastic clothing. They like, because of their sensory needs, they might find a certain fabric interesting to them. So they'll hold on to that fabric.
Like Miss Dumpling, there are those children who are attached to the fridge because they
Yes,
want something cold. And you are wondering why this child is
yes.
opening, closing the fridge. But you as a parent, why don't you sit there? Yeah. And Miss Dumpling, sorry to come in there because I want to check if Buye, I know Buye is at work now. I want to check if he is able to share his story with us because Buye was one of those kids that were even tied onto the bed because the parents
No.
didn't, yes, because the parents didn't understand what was going on with him. So I'm just gonna check, because I know that Buye is at work, and Buye shared this story with me 2 years ago. So I do have flashes of whatever that he told me on that time. I remember that he was tied onto a bed because they didn't understand what was going on with him. I think I will let Buye start the story when he was born, because I think the problem started from there. Buye, are you okay to chat with us about your story?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm also going to fix where I was tired. Um, I was born with a disability. I could not walk. I could not talk. I could not do anything. I used to when my mother told me that I used to walk with my chest. I
Oh, okay,
used to
hold on,
walk like
Buye.
a snake.
So when your mom was pregnant, this thing was not detected. So your
It
mom
was
did not.
detected, but
Oh,
it was, excuse me.
no, go on, Buye, go on.
Okay. So the disease was detected, but they could not clean it before time, or they could not give me a medicine before time. Then I was already infected, and they couldn't, when they say by the doctors that they could not release, they could not, what do you call it, zange bakhona ukukhipha ile nto le utshwala emzimbeni wami, because I was still a baby.
Okay.
Then I was taken from Cape Town to Johannesburg to Baragwan, where I stayed 4 years in hospital, where I was tied up, tied maybe, I think it's 1 meter from the bed, and just they were trying to stretch my legs, stretch my arms, so that I can have water on inside my chest. Then finding out from then, they said I have polio. Polio, which affects half of your body. Half of your body does not work, half of your body works. And it was very hard for me to grow up with, okay, I was going like this. This is my pain I have to live with my entire life. Yes, people might say, no, you are not disabled, you can walk, you can talk. But what I feel inside my body, what the pain I'm feeling, nobody can imagine. What does the person feel? So after then, I from 1994 to, no, sorry. From 1994 to 1998, I was still in hospital. I could not walk, could not talk. My first time, I remember seeing my first eye contact. It was 1998. Seeing the first sun.
98,
Yeah, it was 1998.
and you
Seeing
were
the first.
born which year, Buye?
Excuse me?
And you were born which year? Uzalwe nini?
I was born 1993.
Okay, so 93, but the first time you saw the sun was 98. Okay.
Yes. So after then, it was like growing up, growing with this disability. My biological mother did not think that this child will walk again. But the faith, it was in my grandmother, who I call her mom, that she will walk. I trust. I have faith. So they went to private disability school, could not walk, could not talk. While I was still going there, suddenly I was getting there, getting there, getting there. Then they noticed that, okay, this person, he cannot remember what the teacher will explain to the children. But when we are doing practical, she will do exactly what was supposed to be done.
Buye, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still there. I was just breathing in and out. Sorry about that.
Take your time, Buye. If you want to take a
So
break
yeah,
in between, just
excuse
let
me.
me know.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, Buye. It's because they didn't understand
Sorry about that.
it's because they didn't understand what was going on with him. Buye, are you back?
Yeah. So after that,
Buye,
I
I have
lived my whole
mascara
life.
today. I don't want black tears, please.
Please.
Please, no black tears today.
Yeah. So after that, it was like ups and downs. But then went to this other school, which is called Kempton Panorama School. Then it was like that. It was like, oh, like could not remember what the teacher told us what to write, what to do in the books. But one thing they were proud of, that I was improving bit by bit. That okay, we give you a book for a week, then we say go practice at home, then you do that, then you practice. After 2 weeks, you'll know that book by your head, you'll know that numbers by head. Then, but at school, I could not like go through until grade 12 because of that disability of forgetting,
Yeah,
um, being tired.
yeah. So there was no way you could get to grade 12. There was no way.
Yes,
So which grade did you end up with? Which grade?
grade 10.
Okay.
I ended, I ended up on grade 10.
So will you tell us about how you were also taken to people of church people pouring water and oil all over you?
I started at Methodist. Methodist Church. It was very good. It was very good. People loved me. At one time, abantu bakhona, they loved me. Then I went. Then after that, I went to my uncle's church. No, my cousin's church. Then they poured oil over me. Then the pastor said, "May you please go play the piano." I was like, I don't know anything about pianos. They're like, please just play any song about pianos. Suddenly, I played a piano. A song came out from nowhere. I don't know how I played the piano. I don't know how I did manage to put put together the keys. Then after that, I went back home to Tembisa. Then I forgot about everything. Yeah.
Then during this whole thing, Buye, was there time you were taken to hospital to take medication?
Excuse me?
Yeah, so since you were young until today, is there some form of medication that you are taking for your condition?
No, I had no medication. I used to go with there's a special shoes where you have to put your shoe. That shoe has a long still that holds your leg to be straight. Then after then I went for another. And I had 5 operations. 3 I had it when I was at hospital in Perekwane. 2 I had it at Steve Biko, Pretoria, 2010 and 2013. They have to pull up my they have to pull my muscles, my ankle muscle, and they have to remove and put my and they have to remove my there's this meat from the big toe of your foot. They have to put another meat which you can support my feet to go straight. I had what do they call it? A flat foot. They used to call it that. Yeah.
Koketso, please come in there. Now, from what I could gather from Story Sabuye, Ngari, he is physically and mentally challenged. I stand to be corrected. Koketso, are you with us? Okay, Koketso is not there. Miss
I think
Dumbling?
it's because of
Yes, hi. Yes, definitely. From what Buya was saying, he's had some intervention, probably from he said something about alcohol. So perhaps his mother was abusing alcohol while she was
I don't know
pregnant with him.
how.
Yes, because as most of the times parents
Can
don't
you guys hear
realize
me?
that, to add that a child with learning disabilities needs structure. You need to have it the same way, like say for example, they wake up at 8 o'clock, they're going to brush their teeth. It has to be a fixed routine, because the moment it's not in a routine anymore, that child will struggle with, with the rest of their day. It will be as if their world has come to an end. So you need to be compassionate. You need to look out for the triggers, things that trigger your child, because when they have a learning disability, it's difficult for them to say things like you and I could say, Osna Lady, you made me upset by ABCD. They can't regulate that. They find it difficult to come out and say, this is the problem, or I'm hurting, or I'm hungry. So if you've got a set time that they eat, make sure they're eating at that time. If they have a favorite toy, make sure their toy is always available for them. Like for example, children with ADHD, some might find it difficult to sit still. So there's all these fidget toys that they have now where you can just give them, they just fidget with it while they're sitting still. That way, when you go, say for example, for your hospital appointments, you're not running around chasing somebody to sit down. You've now got this toy, you can give it to them and they'll find it interesting, because all it does is, you can't, it's like a puzzle you can't solve. So for them, it's something that they can focus their mind on. Um, Another thing I'm going to say, just to parents who've got children that have learning disabilities, especially autism, is that don't force your children to be, in quotation marks, normal. Don't do that to your children, because what will happen is children with autism, they're very good at masking behavior. They can go to school and behave like, quotation marks, normal children. But when they're at home, they try to become themselves because it's their safe space. So they call it masking. So it'll be difficult to diagnose them, and it also is not fair on them that they cannot be themselves. They have to behave. They're forced to behave a certain way for the parents' benefit, not for their own benefit. So by masking, it stops them from being diagnosed properly. If, say, for example, they're at school and they're masking behavior at school, school will not be able to notice the traits that affect them. So when they're doing the report, they'll just say, Umtana is fine. But meanwhile, there's serious issues regarding that child that are being missed because you're forcing this child to mask their behavior. You cannot overcome autistic traits. You just have to be yourself. So when you now force them, it affects their mental health in the long run. So some children have got autism, but they're verbal. Maybe they're just lacking in their social skills. Don't force them to make friends. Don't force them to be amongst situations that trigger their sensory needs. Like, for example, loud, noisy places, anywhere with things like sirens, hair dryers, lawn mower, dogs barking. All of that can affect a child's sensory needs. Thank you for the gift. So we need to be more compassionate as people. I don't want to put a label and say as Africans or as Black people. However, we need a lot of education regarding learning disabilities and mental health as a whole, because we tend to forget all of these things, and we tend to be very, very judgmental when we see somebody who is struggling with a child that has got these needs or an adult that has got these needs. We're quick to label them, quick to not allow them to have opportunities. We're quick to just push them to the side and not be there for them or offer them the support they need to get.
Yeah, because there's something that took me back a little bit when I was talking to Buye. I mean, for me, I'm saying he is physically and mentally challenged. Now, something that hit me, that actually got to me like this, is like he was not even given medication. Now let me tell you, I'm not a doctor, but there's something that needs to be balanced. There's something. I think I will let Laperi come into to you to put it in the correct terms. It's like, okay, let me let Koketso come in before I spoil it. But I'm amazed that from birth until today, he's not being diagnosed correctly.
He needs
I
a
think,
social worker.
and I think that is my greatest concern. And what makes it more to be a great concern, he's not alone. He's not the only one right now roaming the streets of South Africa, not being correctly diagnosed. That is my fear. Yeah, Koketso is in and out, Yeah, this topic is a little bit very close to my heart.
Oh, Suzette says she has two kids with autism, learning disabilities plus hearing impairment.
I missed that. Suzette, please come in and share. Please come in and share. Let me invite Suzette. I think I missed Suzette. I missed your comment when I was talking. Yeah, Suzette, please come in and share. Yeah, we continue.
Can I add on something?
Um, what Sissy said now, it's very true. Like also me, like when my mother will it was like towards December around April, she'll ask me first, Buye, where do you want us to go? Because she knew that I don't like people. I don't like being around too much people. One. Two, when I want to go home or when I want to be alone in my room, I'll be not happy. Like it will seem like I hate people. Can't you know I don't hate people. Just would like I'm too, there are too much people which I think they're looking at me like they're feeling sorry for me. Like, so it was like, I don't want anybody, even if I go to a mall, Mall of Africa or Festival Mall or Grindstone. I go to the shop where I want to go, then I come out, go to my car, drive back home. I don't want to be a lot in malls because sometimes I go with people like I don't know okay, what do they think what they think about me, what will they think bazothina abantu. So I don't understand what are the emotions lying in the zabo.
Yeah. And Buya, it's not that you hate people. I think it's more like you don't like to be around people because of the stairs. How because I've seen your videos, Buya. I know you are struggling to walk because of how you walk, how you drag the one foot, and how you speak,
Yes.
and the way you look, you know. And again, Buya, I think when I had the session about disability, I did say to you, I said, what is it that you would like from us, the normal community? And I remember you saying, if you can just say, how can I help you? That is more than enough. And that's what you said.
Yes.
If I didn't cry today, I shame. I'm very strong. Koketso, please come in and then I'm going to take Suzette.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm sitting outside, so if there's background noise, ask easy. But I wanted to say, I think earlier, Dumpling was speaking about, it being thought of as there must be some sort of exorcism that must be done and all of that. As someone who also works in the hospitals, I'll tell you that we've seen children now admitted in the hospital because a child was taken to someone and then this person did something to this child, with whatever it is that they gave the child. And now they are admitted for something we call herbal intoxication that has now caused, what is it? It has now caused some sort of an infection in the brain, and it has now affected the child's development even worse because of the toxins now that are in their bloodstream or that were put into their body with through this kind of treatment. And I mean, as someone who's in healthcare, you just say to people, just be very cautious of taking that kind of route because it really can turn really bad. We see adults also admitted in hospitals because of things like this. So you want to be very careful as a parent or as a caregiver when you make decisions regarding who you consult regarding these matters, because I've seen so many cases of the negative implications of certain treatment methods that parents have sought. One of the things that I see, and I am planning to do a support group on this in the March month, but I'm just going to start preparing it at the end of sorry, in the February month, but I'm going to start implementing it at the end of January, is we need active support groups, especially for parents of children living with certain disorders or disabilities. Because what I always say, and I've mentioned it more than once in either my lives or in my videos, is that we do not live in very accommodating communities. I see it all the time when I'm in the mall. I'll see a parent having a hard time with a child, and the child is maybe throwing a tantrum. They call it tantrum, but the child is having a meltdown, in a public space because of sensory overload. There's so many colors they're seeing so much movement, the sounds, coming from this shop and that shop and that shop, and the smells maybe from that restaurant to that shop, causing so many just it's causing like such a sensory overload that the child ends up having a meltdown because they don't know how to regulate. You see parents walking past, looking at these parents, thinking, "Oh, you don't know how to handle your child," or "Oh, you don't discipline your child." You'll hear parents also saying, "If this was my child, I was going to just give the child a varum clap." And you think, if this is what we are thinking when we look at people who are living with disabilities or parents of children with disabilities, we are so far then when it comes to coming together as a community and being supportive. We are so far from actually getting information, education, because we've now concluded that it's the parenting skills that have caused their child to be this way. So, I agree with Buye in saying that one of the things he wishes someone would say is, "How can I help you?" But also, wanting to, with a genuine heart, really find out, what is this parent going through, what is this child, what is going on. Is he having a meltdown? How can I help you? Yes, but how are you doing? There aren't a lot of moments where a conversation is had regarding, how is the parent doing, how are you doing? Because I always say, a lot of the times you find that parents of children with special needs, they are tired, they are exhausted, because they have a child who sleeps very late at night. They can barely get any sleep, and during the day you can't nap, because if he's not sleeping, you can't just put your head on the pillow and fall asleep, because you might wake up and he's done something that would be considered naughty, but he's done something that would maybe some sort of damage to the house. So they're tired. They're very tired. It's at night, they don't want to sleep. Some of the children that I've seen who have intellectual disabilities or even autism, they don't sleep well at night. So the child is sleeping now at 11 and he's waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So now you need to be up when he's up. That's the whole idea. When are you getting to sleep? Because if you're living with the child and you're alone, you don't even have a lot of support. So what we need to do is really create a community, and I'm grateful for platforms like this, because it becomes yet another a community that can be built, that will be supportive, for parents of children living with disabilities. I always say that parents of children living with intellectual disabilities are like the Olympics of parenting, because you have the whole normal journey of being a parent, and then you also have a child who you don't understand from the beginning. You don't really know until you start to understand your child. You don't really understand what's going on with this person that you've been given to raise. You don't know what's going on, and you almost feel like you're the only one going through it. So, and you're given a lot of information at the same time. Right off the bat, you're getting information at the same time. You're hearing a lot of big words, you're hearing a lot of jargon. You don't know what all of this means. And it's almost like 3 years later, you're going to have to hear the same information, because at that time, you are still processing what all of this means.
Yeah, correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Koketso, yeah, so much useful information there, my sister. But let me invite Suzette. Suzette is living with children with autism. Suzette, please tell us. I'm a mom. Can you imagine when the doctor says something that is inside of you, that is growing inside of you, it's not normal? Those are not kind words to take. You are thinking, why is it happening to me? Why me? Now, what I like about this topic is that now we are talking about them when they are born. Now, I like what Koketso said. Koketso said it's not something that at infancy you will notice. But when they start walking, when they start talking, when they start developing into a full human being, that's when the parents should be looking out for the signs that a man, my child is not performing like Naledi's child. And and that's when you should be alert as a parent, because now when I'm listening to Buye's story, I feel like a lot of things have been missed. A lot of things have been missed in his diagnosis. And what touches my heart is that he's not the only one. He's not the only one roaming the streets of South Africa, roaming the streets of USA, roaming the streets of UK, and they are not diagnosed correctly. Suzette, welcome.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Suzette. I'm living in the United Kingdom. I'm originally from Jamaica and I have two children. They both autistic.
That
And
umzimba wami unotshwala when I arrived in Perekwane, then bona they tried to drain the alcohol inside my body while I was still admitted in Perekwane. But it was already too late because it they said it already infected my body, half of my body, and I will grow up very being physically disabled. I will have challenges while I'm still growing up.
So we just to clarify, you were born with alcohol in your system, ne?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Sis Naledi, can I go ahead and explain?
Yes, continue, Koketso.
Yeah, so in instances like that, when a child is born with alcohol in their system, they are then diagnosed with something we call fetal alcohol syndrome. Ne? So basically, what this would mean is that there's a certain substance that was used while the mom was pregnant. So she might have had, maybe if it's fetal alcohol, then there's a level of alcohol that has contributed to this disability. So you may find that maybe she consumed alcohol while she was pregnant with Buye. So, they say, yes, the first trimester, it is safe for alcohol consumption, right? And they'll say if you just have it in moderation, it can be fine. Yes, that may be so. However, there is, firstly, with fetal alcohol syndrome, there's no time in which you can say, okay, maqala uphuza like at what's this, 4 months, then the child is now at risk. It cannot be identified really at what part of pregnancy the alcohol consumption will affect the development of the fetus. So It can be at the end of pregnancy, it can be at the beginning of pregnancy or in the middle. And also there's no amount of alcohol that will say if you consume more than 1 glass of alcohol, or if you consume 6 pack or whatever, then the child will definitely have fetal alcohol syndrome. So that is why it's actually just really not advisable to consume alcohol during pregnancy, because the child stands a risk of being born with fetal alcohol syndrome, whether it is, it was just through using 1 glass of wine a day, or really it's just difficult to identify the correct amount of alcohol that can be used for it to be safe. So and what he's presenting with, I mean, the disability symptoms or characteristics rather that he has, they actually do go hand in hand with fetal alcohol syndrome. The physical disability, the intellectual disability, the communication difficulties, all those things, they actually align so well with fetal alcohol syndrome. So
Thank
essentially that's
you.
why they had, yeah, that's what they'd said, Hore. It was getting, they were saying it's too late, Hore,
Yeah.
it already infected, because fetal alcohol syndrome happens while you're still a fetus inside the tummy.
Okay. Thank you, Kokeso, for the clarification. Let's take Suzette next. Suzette, can you hear us? Suzette, unmute your mic.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Unmute your mic, dear. Now we can't hear you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes. Do not put your, do
Is
not,
the echo,
loud and clear.
is
We
it,
can hear you so well.
it's echoing, yeah. Okay, I've got 2 children, a 9-year-old and a 24-year-old, autistic, with learning disability, hearing impairment. And it's not a easy daily task, for parents. I heard someone already said that, parents going through this are very tired daily. It is. And as parents, I know some parents themselves also maybe have special needs condition, mental health disability, maybe also misdiagnosed. That can add more pressure fuel to the situation. As a parent, you need to be like, the key supporter for the child, watch every trait, record everything, have a note of everything, because you will not remember when it comes to the situation of the assessment to give the information. So you have to record everything, especially at school, where the child struggle at school, struggle at home, because the child struggle because they relate to things different from us. How we see things normal, they don't see it that way. So they struggle in every situation: noise, looks, feelings, how you talk to them, how you approach them, changes. Even if they have a support worker who are going to care for them, sometimes if you can get a culture support worker, especially like us if we from a different country, because sometimes when they do certain things, someone of the same culture sometimes will understand why they act that way or do certain things. If they're not from here, they may not understand and make things get worse. You know, they have struggle to remember, so they have memory difficulties. You know, they may be speaking verbally, but they tends to have their own, make their own words up of how they call things. For example, my son, you know, he will says, "Oh mommy, why I can't broke, why I broke like stone, why I can't," and I will says to him, what do you mean you broke like stones? And I would find time to find out what does he mean, you know, because I want to understand him. So now if he says that to someone else, they're not going to find that time, the patience to try to understand him. What is he trying to say? You know, so I will use like his uncle, or if he has a friend that I know he close to, I will says, okay, do you mean, you know, do you broke like your uncle? Is your uncle broke like stone? And he will says, no, my uncle is full broke, you know. So then I realized that he's trying to say he's not understanding. He's not understanding like us. And he will say, "Mommy, I'm not broke like you." So, yes, he speaks verbally, but he makes his own words up to express himself. Now, someone who's not related to him be around him will never understand. You know, when you have this condition, it's a constant work. It's always like research and research, because when autism, mental ill health affect everybody in different way, but it still comes down to one thing: the challenging is very difficult, because they may not able to. It's like my son, he's 24 now, going 25, and I'm his lasting power of attorney. Once when he reached 18, it was very well, it was already difficult before, and when he reached 18, it was very more difficult. A lot of people, psychologists, ask me how I do it, you know, but in life, it's either something break you or it's strengthening you. So it's something where you never can give up. When we have this condition, when kids are like this, we have to be proactive, be on the alert, you know, do our research, get help with the professionals. It can be very difficult with professionals. Some of them are very good, but we will have challenge. I have a lot of challenge. I have learned, once I've reached out to a professional, I get their emails. Get all of them emails. When you send off an email of the situation, you CC everyone in it. Because like I said, you will not remember all the time to explain the situation. This is why, where they were explaining that why sometimes they get misdiagnosed, another side don't have the information, and you're not going to be able to keep it's a repeating process, and you're not going to be able to keep repeating. You drain. It's not easy. That you will get lots of blame. Parents will get a lot of blame because, you know, company professionals, they try to stigmatize you, write things up to say parents this, parents that. So you always have to have your evidence ready. You always, whatever you do, you get your evidence, you prepared, you know. We have to
But
like needs to
Suzette,
try and
Suzette,
get like EHC
there's
kits.
something you said, and I'm sorry, I'm going to ask as well. Now you say the oldest one is 20. Did you say 24? Was it
Yes.
24? Okay. But my
Yes.
sister, how did you do it?
Well, like I said, psychologists asked me how I do it because my son, he did not born here. It took me like 4 years to fight to get him to this country. Because when I was getting him, even going through court and explain, because of his age, court want him to send like a letter and everything, and everything I have to provide, every money I send back home to my parents, everything I have to always have them in file, because I have to prove I'm the sole responsible person. Back home there was lots of problem in school. I have to contact school back home to keep him in, because I realize at school back home, if you're not paralyzed, physical paralyzed, they don't accept your condition. They don't realize it's your mental brain that carry you in life, that retain information. So it's not easy. So what I do after I fight and fight through court until I get him here, I've never give up, because I know his condition. After we reach here, they realize it was even worse than what I was explaining to them. After he came here, they also misdiagnosed him. When they diagnosed him first, they saying he has learning disability. And then it was late, like just 2 years ago, like they realized, oh no, he's definitely autistic as well. College excluded him, that he cannot come back until they diagnose him properly. So all this is because I have my evidence them in place, and I take it to everywhere. And when they see what I'm saying, and when he's in their care, they see it, and then they realize, oh, his mom is right. That's what his mom was saying. And they can't understand him. None of them ever understand him. They always contact me to say, oh, this is a problem, this is a problem. And I will know what to say to them and what to do. He hasn't got full capacity. So when even like social worker take him because of his age and assess him that, oh, he has capacity and all of that. Do you? Okay, yeah. So I don't worry myself, because I've learned how to gather all my evidence of what's going on. Because sometimes the specialists, them, like, when they realize they get like intimidated, scared of you, but you have to still calm and maintain your professionalism and just get your evidence ready, because that's how it is. Because it's difficult on both sides. They will do everything to try to come out. So it's something that you have to place your mindset that this is it. I have to accept and find way how to maintain, how to manage it. And that's what I've done. So there's one of the time where like a social worker took my son by himself, because he's an adult, and assess him by himself that he has full capacity. I did not worry, because I know he ain't got no full capacity, and the GP already confirmed. Everybody we know, right? So when something is fact, it doesn't matter what they write around it. With someone that has learning disability, mental ill health, autistic, whatever it is, when something is fact about that person, that character or whatever, it doesn't matter what someone write that is incorrect about it, it will come out in the light. So always have your evidence ready, everything, I fight like my daughter at school. I have to fight with the school, like jump beat, like when she comes home, she will have tantrum. When she comes home, I have to find out what causes her tantrum. She want to explain what she learned at school, but she wants to, it's to written on a paper to show me. Like, say for instance, if she done maths today at school, once see it on a piece of paper to say I did maths today, then she'll be able to explain something to me about maths, but if it's not on anything, she just in tangent and whatever reason, whatever else going on. And I have to fight with John B, which deal with autistic and whatever the school, what they're saying to me is that, oh no, when someone is autistic, they're like this and overwhelmed from school, whatever. Yes, overwhelmed from school, but I know there is something else you want to talk. So you have to be, vigilant, it is imperative that you be vigilant, vigilant to that child. It's not a problematic thing. Child doesn't get depressed or whatever if there is not something going on. They're not like us. When we get depressed, is something going on as well that we want to fix or we can't fix. So it's same for the child. They know they want to develop. They know they not understand something. They can't explain it. How do you go about it? So it's something that I'm on. It's not easy. That is not like me. That's strong in managing. So someone has to be the leader. You know, never give up. The what you call it, the professionals are there to support us. We have to just get the evidence, get out there, contact them. It doesn't matter what they say on their back, send emails, you know. And it's good to get psychologists involved for your child once they reach if it's getting too much, you know. It's not easy, but yes, right now my son, this is another thing as well. When the child reaches certain age, they will go through lots of abuse by people out there because you can't control them, you know, in certain way. Once they can take the bus on their own or the train and go somewhere on their own, they're gonna meet people. Because like my son, there's a young woman that get pregnant for him, and it's 3 times we went to court. I cannot claim the child without a DNA test. And I do everything to do DNA tests, get DNA test done. It was done. I get it done. But the woman kept running away with the child and contacting child maintenance for child support. I'm paying child support. She contact child maintenance, says that she getting 0 from my son. No, my son doesn't have capacity, doesn't control his benefit. He doesn't understand anything. I've sent her child support through the bank. I got the evidence. I have to get a solicitor to start to deal with it because the police want to arrest the ladies, that I have to take an injunction out. I decide I'm not going to take the injunction out because my son doesn't have capacity and going to still interfere with stuff. The girl called, even the police told my son not to talk to the girl or whatever. He doesn't understand, he's still doing it. So I couldn't take an injunction out or anything. All I'm doing, trying to sort things out so he can have access to his child. The girl blocked everybody from contact, went away with the child. We could never find her. Even her family contact me because they see that we were doing the right thing that we should do. She upset the fact that the family find out that she went and have a child for someone that is in that condition. So she knows I know everything because I'm always in my son's care. She's not happy that I told the family. Now, what else could I do? So until today, that situation, what the girl did, she called my son private now and again to see the child. Don't tell your mommy she's going to call the police. She's still gone. He's still gone and do it. Last couple of weeks, he contact me upset because because of his age, he's in a supportive accommodation now, close by me. He contact me, he hates me, I'm a wicked mother and whatever. Why he says that? Because of what the girl is doing to him. In his head, mommy understand, mommy knows, but he don't realize that I have to work with the law to sort things out. So right now, psychologist is trying to help with it. Social service is trying to help. It's not a easy thing. And this is what this girl do. And she blocked me and nobody, there's nothing, all I'm doing is sorting out thing. Even her family she's not talking to now. A big woman. Right now she let her boyfriend contact my son for money. Despite she getting child support. Even through child maintenance, because after I was paying and the solicitor told me I have to stop the direct debit, that she's getting child maintenance because that's double, because she contact child maintenance service, so they're taking it out of my son benefit. Now this is fact, my son don't have to pay child support because of his condition, he doesn't work and whatever. I still pay because I got the DNA test done and realized it's my grandchild. Now, they're supposed to pay half and half DNA test because I did to take it to the court to get it done. She didn't pay none, I pay all of it. Now she's not even talking to her auntie and her dad. She don't have a mom. Her mom died when she was 17, I understand. She's not talking to them because they're with me trying to sort things out. So in her head, she just want money because she's the same age. She's 20, she's 24 like my son. It's not a easy thing. Every day, email. Every day, email. My daughter,
please, please
it's
come in there.
anybody can. I also work in the hospital in pediatric. I get nurse of the year every month for autistic parents with autism, because I've learned so much. Sometimes when I do stuff, they ask me like how I know. As soon as a child come in, special needs, they act in certain way, whatever. I just know what to do once I assess. I just know what to do. And my colleagues, they will like comment like, how do you know? How do you know? I said it's experience. It takes time, patience.
Um, you know,
When I see
I think
someone on the street, I can tell. I just yeah. Sorry to cut you. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, Koketso, come in there. I just realized actually, Suzette, while you were talking, that you know what, at the end of the day, they are humans. They are supposed to have interaction. And, yeah. Koketso, please come in.
Osna lady, as Suzette was speaking, I was actually I'm definitely looking at that, but I'm also starting to realize, how the law is not accommodating. In that,
Yeah.
one of my colleagues is actually a mother of children, of a child living with autism, and one of the things she was discussing the other day was getting an ID for this kind of an individual that's on the spectrum, or a child with an intellectual or with a learning disability rather. And she was saying, imagine that whole process of getting an ID, a home affairs, where you have to go and then, you're in the queue, and then there's so much busyness. And then at some point in the day, he must sit and they must get the perfect shot, and he must look exactly where they're saying he must look so that they can get this picture. And then, as Suzette now still talking again, I'm remembering the situation with SASA, that when I was working in special education, government special education, we had so many parents. SASA is now for grants for disability grant or pensioners grant, and they were coming and saying my child is not being accepted, or doesn't qualify according to the doctors that are hired by SASA. So they have to come, they have to travel to the special school, and it's not close to where they stay, and they now have to pay extra for transport. They are unemployed and they do not have the assistance when it comes to transport.
God.
So, and they don't qualify. So now what the parent is getting is the normal what is this grant for parents, the 350,
Yeah.
and transport is like maybe 500. And now if a child is being identified while they're in a school and they need to be transferred out, we need to think things like uniform, as well as the normal day to day for the child. And one of the other things now, just not my third point, I see Dumpling, sorry, wants to go, and she says she has to go into a meeting.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we're seeing is now when it comes to women's health, when it comes to children with learning disabilities who are female, because it is against their human rights if you impose contraception on them.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents would then come to the
Hold
school
on.
and say, we need.
Okay, so hold on to
Yeah.
that point. We will continue about it. Let me just let Miss Dumbling wrap up, and then
Yeah.
I hear where you are going with your point. We're gonna come back to it, Kokezo. Miss
Okay, no
Dumbling,
problem.
your last words, please.
Thank you so much for everyone that's come on. I've learned a lot. Suzette, my heart goes out to you. Um, Coquette, thank you so much. You're so knowledgeable. Um, we thank you for coming on, sharing your experience. My heart goes out to you, and I hope you can get a social worker to work with you and help you get the right diagnosis. Osna Lady, thank you for the platform. I just wanted to say to everybody who's got children who are on the autism spectrum, that having a diagnosis is not the end of the world for these children. They can go on to be wonderful people that achieve great things. I've just got a list here of some famous people who've got autism that you probably didn't know about. You've got Albert Einstein, Anthony Hopkins, Tim Burton, Charles Darwin, Bill Gates has got autism, but he's like one of the most wealthiest people in the world. Um, who else? Elon Musk as well. So you see, having autism is not a barrier to not being able to achieve great things. I know a child who's autistic. They have they lack social interaction skills, but they're super intelligent in their learning and in they've got a photographic memory. They can grasp things quickly. They are very confident when they get to know you. But when it comes to social skills, if you tell them no, for them, it's like a huge, like you slap them in the face, for example, because they don't understand why you're saying no. They don't understand why you don't like them. They don't understand why their mannerisms annoy you. So I just wanted to say to parents and people who have to be around people who are autistic or have any form of learning disabilities, like Down syndrome, for example, be patient, be kind, be helpful. Nobody asked to be born that way. You won't know until you're experiencing what they're going through. Don't stare at people. Don't label people, and don't deal with people according to their disability. Talk to them as a fellow human being and treat them how you would want to be treated. So
Yeah.
it was nice being with you guys. Hopefully I can catch you another time, Osna Lady. Thank you so much for your
All right.
platform. And take care,
Thank you, Miss
everybody.
Dumpling. Everyone that goes off, we get a round of applause. Thank you for being with us, Miss Dumpling. Thank you so much. Tomo, did I see you requesting there? So, Koketso, continue on the point of now when some of them are girls in school and you can't force contraceptive onto them. Yeah, that's another thing. Hey, continue, Koketso.
Yeah, so thank you, Osnalidi. So as I was saying, we've had parents come. When I was in education, parents would come and say, "I need the school's help in order to get my child on contraception because my child doesn't want to take contraception. Firstly, because of the learning disability, you have to think that it might be difficult to put them on contraception because of things such as, will they remember to take the pill, you know? But secondly, especially after my age 15 or so, it's just against their human rights to just force that on them. So the parents are coming then worried because you find that the child has already had a child, or they've already had a child, or they are becoming more active in terms of dating, and maybe the parent already knows that the child is sexually active. Now what do we do? Because I don't want her to fall pregnant. Firstly, I cannot afford it financially. But secondly, raising her already feels like I'm raising someone who's significantly younger than the age that she is. How do I now ensure that this doesn't happen? And, it was such a difficult situation because you'd find that a parent, I mean, there are so many different types of neurological disabilities and all those things. You'd find that a child with a mother or a parent with a certain neurological disability is now, she has sent her child to school who presents with the same neurological disability. So she has now this almost like a fear that, if my child now falls pregnant and has a child with this similar neurological disability, they may all now become my responsibility because the severity of my child's neurological disability is worse than mine. So it was very, in itself, you'd feel like it's a bit disabling because you do not know what to do. And you've got those barriers, those legal barriers now of how do I work my way around this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one, this one, because you know what I'm trying to work out now in my head, Koketo, as you are talking. I think the other day when I was here with Buye, we even went to the love scene. And I don't think they want what looks like them. I don't see Buye dating someone that looks like him. They are attracted to the opposite. Now, some people, they get attracted to them, like what Suzette said, to take chelete ya bona, to kubaja, to I'm trying to find the English word, to manipulate them. It's not really about the child. It's not really about having a family with them, but there is a bigger picture and a broader scheme that they are looking out for. And I think even Buye, when he goes out there, it's not like Buye is looking at a lady who is on a wheelchair. No, he is attracted to the opposite. But the opposite always comes in with a ulterior motive. Let me just let Buye comment on that one, because I know he wants.
I was talking to one of the employers. As this lady said, yes. It's hard for me to like. It's hard for me. Let me talk about us, as I don't love saying this word a person with disability. I love saying the word people with special needs.
Yeah.
It's hard for us as people with special needs would date the same person
Yeah.
as I, because sometimes we have the same, we have the same anger. Sometimes when we angry, we will be like in the same level, and because one of us has to be down, another one has to be like there on top. So it's very hard for Uchi like me now date a person who's the same as me.
Mm.
I don't know why, I don't know how, but I find it hard for me to go, okay, what will happen? Like I feel more pain for that person than I feel more pain than for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Buye, loud and clear. And that's why I'm saying it's like curly hair, straight hair. When you have curly hair, you want straight hair. When you have straight hair, you want curly hair. When you have brown skin, you want light skin. When you have light skin, you want brown skin. So we always, I think it's a human mind, it's a human brain. It works like that. We always look for what we don't have. Koketso, I'll let you come in there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct, Osna lady. You know, can what I wanted to do is just go back to the statement you were making before Budbuye was speaking about how there's such a, you know, ASD, autism is now on everybody's lips. I mean, if you actually look at even the TV shows now, they're starting to make TV shows about people who have autism, you know? And the thing is, my worry with my lady is that, you know, there is still a thing as a learning disability non-specified, as I said, but now it seems like it's all getting schlepped together as one thing. The reason the conversation is being had that much is because we're seeing more diagnoses of autism taking place, right?
Mhm.
And now they're able to even when I was working in public health those years, they were only diagnosing it at 6 at the hospital that I was working at. But now children are getting diagnosis to autism at age 3. So you're seeing more people now with diagnosis to autism. And yes, we have different types of people with autism, you know, and like your Albert Einstein, they were the low level, low support needs people. They didn't have a high level of support that they needed. So what I'm seeing, and I think that's why I don't comment a lot and I don't really watch a lot of these TV shows on individuals living with autism, is that in the highlighting of autism in that angle, we are almost neglecting our high support needs people living with autism. And then what it also does is that it sells a picture to some parents of children who actually have high who have a high support needs um diagnosis, we sell a picture of, well, at some point this child is going to be this and this and this and this and this, right? And not to say that it's not always going to happen, but it becomes difficult for parents to be present in the here and now. And as Suzette was communicating, I was saying it's an amazing way, as you're saying, to communicate with all the stakeholders involved, or all the professionals involved in with helping her child. It's just that the unfortunate thing is that's not always available to people that are seeking public services in our country. A lot of them, you find that they do not have access to emails or access to the internet. So advice to that population is always make sure, firstly, you keep all the documents and reports that you receive safe. And if you do not believe that you'll be able to keep them safe, or if you're seeking those reports from the speech therapist or an occupational therapist because they're being sought for by the school, then make a photocopy before it gets to the school. Or ask the school to make a photocopy for you so that you always have them. And do not be ashamed in asking the professional what really is autism, even if your child has been diagnosed like 15 years later, 15 years earlier. So if your child was diagnosed 5 years ago and you still feel like you don't truly understand, you can still ask. I always I'm in private practice, so I guess I serve a different population, but I always say, don't walk out of my office not understanding what is going on, be it autism, be it Down syndrome, be it just a developmental language delay. Don't leave the office without understanding, because you're going to encounter somebody when you're on the way home or at home who's going to ask you, so what's going on, or what did she say? And then you're going to touch here and there and truly understand in that moment that you still don't understand. So yeah, it's quite a tricky one. But what we're seeing is that I actually joined a symposium the other day. I was part of a symposium where autism was the main topic, or one thing, the thing that was being highlighted. And the specialist that was presenting said, we are going to even see even more diagnoses to autism because of the way the classification scale is changing. This also worries me, because I feel like in essence, we are really all going to be on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I have significant sensory difficulties. I mean, I don't like certain smells. I cannot handle certain sounds. I don't like, certain textures touching my body. Then, in that sense, and also, I'm social at my own times, but I'm not really a social person outside of the times when I want to be social. I mean, if you put those together, am I now on the spectrum? So
Yeah.
it's yeah,
And
it's a bit of a
Koketo,
tricky one.
remember the other day how I invited you to this topic? I said maybe even us, the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, maybe we do have a form of disability, because I sometimes look at myself how photogenic, how photographic I am. I would look at something once and then bang, it's stuck in my head. I was telling you about how when I look at that drawing of the ear, of the eye that we used to do in our last year, grade 12, that thing is still embedded in me. That thing is still, I can draw the eye for you and label it for you. I can draw the ear for you and label it for you. So I like what you are saying, Koketso. I actually wanted to take it back to us, our generation. Maybe we have been misdiagnosed. Maybe we were not even diagnosed. Maybe we don't even know what we are carrying with us. You are thinking, why am I snapping when I hear the word apartheid? Why do I feel awful when somebody says turn left? And like you pass it to our kids, this behavior that we don't even understand. That's why AMA 2000, they are telling us, Mama, your mental health needs to be checked out. Suzette, are you still with us, my love?
Yes, yes.
That's what I just needed to flood out to Eman. Look at us. You know, look at I no what's making and I don't even know where to start, Koke. So where do we even go at the age of 40? Whose doors am I going to knock on? What am I going to say? What's wrong with Naledi? Why, Bona Precious, please say Asia again. What am I going to say to Koketo? What's wrong with me?
The word, we have to be there. We whoever in the UK should ensure that they get their kids EHC care plan in place, because they're gonna need it, because you're not gonna be there all the time to support that child, and that child's going to rely on you. What happened, the child relies, when you see the child, they choose their own, they choose their own likening, even friends, whatever they're comfortable with. And when you see that the child take a liking to you, it's like my son, everything is mommy. And what specialist does, they thinking, oh, mommy's doing too much, or mommy this, mommy that. And like I said, if I hadn't have my evidence, sometimes they would come when I said, how can I be doing this when my child does not live with me? So after I have all my evidence and they see, then there's nothing they can do. They see that they are at fault, they're misdiagnosed, they fail him. So these are what's happening. So, and it is hard. This is why we have to get our evidence, in place, even video, picture, whatever, get every paperwork, file them away. If you have an email address, get what you call it, put them in one place, where you can have access to them, and for evidence to help your child, because you're going to need help too, because it's draining. Myself, I try to get help myself. I'm dyslexic myself. I wear hearing aid myself, so it's not an easy road, and especially if the parents are special needs themselves, and that's how a lot of kids get taken away from their parents. And then even though they get taken away, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation. It still makes it worse, because no one cares for your child more than you do. You may just need little support to help the situation, for the best interest of the child. And it takes time for them to realize that as well.
But Suzette, how did you get to know that you are dyslexic?
Well, this is it
were you
again.
diagnosed?
Like, I diagnosed through college here, and I'm still not fully diagnosed yet. But what I do, because I didn't born here, and then I come here and I always study and doing every little things to help myself. And college here, they recognize it, tell you to go, and they assess you. They assess you through reading and a lot of different paperwork and things like that. So that's how they found out I was. And then I didn't give up on it. I haven't give up on it. So I just carry on and carry on. Even with me, I'm with hearing aid. I didn't know until my son came to me with this country, and they tested me, and they like, how did you hear? Didn't you realize you can't hear? Now, I didn't know that, because what I know is I have to come close to you to hear. But I wasn't thinking that I can't hear well. I just know how I need to hear you. So I just get close to you. If I sit in the classroom, I always sit at the front, to make sure I hear, not thinking that, oh, no, is something wrong with my hearing. So it's not easy. It's about vigilance and self-awareness.
Yeah, that's correct. So at what age were you diagnosed with that?
My hearing.
Yes.
It was about 10. It was about 10 years ago. Yeah, it's about 8-10 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. I hear you, Suzette, and thank you for sharing your story and sharing your children's story. It was quite it was quite beneficial for today's topic.
No,
Uh,
your friend, to be honest, is the first I've been on live like this. I do help a lot of people privately because I know, like, to help them what to do and tell them how to go and get help and things like that, because I know where I go and get help, but what you're doing here is very so useful. I hope people that are young mothers trying to seek help, want someone to talk to, I hope they come and listen to your life. Yeah,
yeah,
I hope they do.
but Suzette, these are the kind of lives that don't get a lot of viewership because people prefer to talk about other things. But maybe in the long run, someone might say, "Oh, I
No,
was on
they
a
they, they
TikTok."
will come. Yeah,
No,
they
but
will come.
I think when
Like I
it's
said,
time, yeah, one day they will
yeah,
remember
cause
that.
cause I work in pediatric in the hospital, like I said, and I help so many people there, and even like my own colleagues, them when parents come in with special need, they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
Not
correct.
even the manager, not even the manager herself, because working with it is totally different from living with it. And
Because
I have
Suzette,
two.
Suzette, would you agree with me that now you had kids with special needs? You had to teach yourself, you had to teach your neighbors, you had to teach your
Oh,
family
definitely.
how to be
This is
around
what,
your
yeah.
kids.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. I used to cry every day.
Mm,
So it builds me now. I get stronger. So I'm helping people. When I see when people come in and they so hungry, upset, and shout and everything, and this is what some professional do, right of incorrect things about these people, which is patient or whatever. But it's because of my experience, my background. I know, no, this is an error, and it's me a lot of time I have to step in and help and fix it. And my colleagues would like, oh my God, how did you do it? How did you make this smile? How did it's the approach. It's because you've been there, it's different outside. It's different.
okay, Precious wants to come in. There's something we spoke about last time. Suzette, thank you so
Yeah.
much. My queen,
Thank you so much. Yes,
thank you for
thanks a
joining
lot.
us. Buye, are you
Thank
still
you.
there?
I'm still here. I'm still here, sis. I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I think I lost my speech therapist. Where is she? Where is Gogetso?
I
Hey,
don't
Precious,
know. Even
welcome.
me.
Hello,
Hi, Stando. How are you?
I'm good and you?
I'm good, Stando Sam. I see that you are thanking me from last time. Remind me, Stand.
Yeah, I did get help, but not from the people who said they will help me. There's a lady who called me
Hold
on
on,
Tumela
Precious,
message.
hold on. As you are talking, I remember your voice now. I remember your voice. You
Yeah,
are the mother. Yeah. Your child is a 10-year-old that is in grade 2. Yes. I remember
yes.
you. I remember you now. It's coming back. That's why I need to, when you started talking, I'm like, I know you. You are a mother of a 10-year-old that is doing grade 2. Your child
Mm.
was not correctly diagnosed, and the school is the one that held you back. I remember you, Stando Sam. Continue with your story.
I wanted to say they pushed him to grade 3 also.
But Stando
Yeah,
Sam,
so
what happened to the special school?
I'm still in the process. He needs to be diagnosed before he goes to the special school.
Mm,
So we're
mm,
still running some tests, and we sent a form to the school so they can also help us with this ukuthola ukuthi inkinga yini.
yeah.
There was a doctor who was watching us that time. Her name is Lerato. She just came in and out. Then she contacted me here on TikTok, going to me the message. She said I should come to she's around Katlehong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember you now.
So yes, we took him there, Wambega. Then she told me yes, she see many signs of late development on
Yeah.
him. So we need to she need to diagnose him properly. Then after the uzomenzela ne grant in case he will need to go to a private school. That grant will help me also. Then if it's expensive, mean I'll that grant will meet me halfway.
Yeah.
Because when she checked, she said most of the school here in Katlehong they are private and 4,000 to 5,000. So if the grant will assist me, or maybe the grant will assist me with, is it 1.9?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Then
a
mean
grant is gonna meet you halfway. Yeah.
yes, the grant will meet me halfway. So we are going back next month to her. So by then she'll fix izinto for him so she can get us a referral to a private school.
Yeah.
Who's for
We are gonna
special needs.
kind of sometimes it's good to talk. Remember, you didn't even want to request, but someone was listening in the background and someone was ready to help you.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy and thank you to everyone. That's what I'll say for now. Thank you so much because now I know where I'm standing and what I'm going to do. Because also as they push him to grade 3, I even asked the teacher, how do you push someone who didn't even write exams?
No,
And she told
the
me,
right school, bona stand Sam, listen to this. The right school is gonna kick in. And
Can
umntanakho
I, Snadeli, can I
bazomfaka
come in a little bit?
into a grade where he's supposed to be. Kwamanje, just
yeah.
go along with the grade 3, continue, kuzoba right. Buye, did you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say something to Sis Precious. Sis Precious, on kolweni ezi which they have normal to learn the disability schools. That's what they
Hmm.
do. Let me make example with me. I was in Konamo first time going to school. I was in Konamo. I went to they use most of the time they use numbers. They don't use grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. They use numbers. So I was putting in a class number 4. Then from number 4 I went to number 3. From number 3 I went to number 7. From number 7 I went to number 9. After that I
Hmm.
was upgraded to another school which was which had grades. From that school, I went to a special class. Special class, I went to grade 8. No, I went to grade 7. From grade 7, I went to grade 8. From grade 8, I went to grade 9. Grade 9, I went to grade 10. That's how they do it. If they see the child that the child has, she or he can do better than others. He's not that difficult. They do such things at the schools, and do not say
Okay.
no. Why they do this? They are seeing something.
No, he's in a normal school actually. Been in grade 2 for many years. He's not yet placed in a special school. For
Yeah.
now, I'm in a battle for him to go to the special school.
And he will get there. That is what I'm saying, Siswan. When he is placed in a special school, then the right grade izofika kuye. So right now, angisho ikolo zivuliwe, and we are saying the
Zivuliwe.
old school has taken him to grade 3. Let him stay there until i-special school imthatha izinto zakho zisebenza so, and then everything will be fine. But what Buye is trying to tell you is that makafika a special school, they don't use grades, they use numbers. And numbers are jumbled up like this. 1 year uzoenza number 2, 1 year uzoenza number 7, and then 1 year uzoenza. So there's a way, and Siswami, I love the fact that you are open to this. Go there with an open heart and an open mind, because ufuna ukusiza umntanakho, and your child is going to be one in a million. Uyabona lele 1 in a million esikhuluma ngayo, the one that the parents stood up and said, my child is special, but they deserve education. That is what is going to happen to umntanakho, siswami, because you stood up. You didn't sit down. You didn't say lomtana udom, lomtana lo stupid, lomtana lo slow. You didn't do that. But you stood up as a mother, and you say, and God is hearing your prayer, Siswam. Your God is listening to your prayer. That's why I'm saying that child is going to be 1 in a million. Keep watching, Siswam. Ungakhathali. You know, Suzette was here. Suzette said a very profound thing, Uguti. Bringing up a special child is not easy. And I'm happy that Wena Precious, you are willing to take that route. You are willing to head on. You are saying, come snow, come thunder, come lightning. I'm ready to fight for this child. And this child is going to get the best education. Believe me.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what we also discover? We discover that he's good in hands.
God.
You see, anything that's for
Yes.
drawing, building, he's so good. So I know when he goes to the special school, you'll find izinto lezi azokwazi ukuthi ufocusa kizo esikoleni ngoba I think ukuthi, if I'm not lying, if umntwana ugood ezandleni, I'm sure they focus on that side. Am I
Yes.
lying?
Correct.
I'm
No,
correct.
right,
Yeah,
right,
so
yes. He's gonna be placed in a place la azobluma khona.
okay.
In normal school, I'm sebenzeli. That's why I was saying
Okay.
earlier on, why lomtana asase normal school?
But I'm
Sis
happy this time I'm getting
Nadia,
help.
Buye, are you back?
can I say something quick? Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something to Sis Precious. Sis Precious,
Yeah, good.
you see one thing, Sis Precious, which I want to tell you. I want to tell you, and you will see in the future. Ngiyazwakala?
Yeah.
Yes, uyazwakala bhuti wami.
Okay. Mina, I could not walk. I could not talk. I had a flat foot. Ane? Izinto kade ngibhale ezinye, they will kade zibona ukuthi okay, nomuntu lo, he's good in hands. Mina I was the first person emakhaya kabomamami to fix a TV. Bangazi ukuthi i-TV ilungiswa kanjani. Ilahle itishi, mara I was the first person who knew ukuthi i-TV ilungiswa kanjani. Then 2012, people thought ukuthi mina I would never drive a car. People thought that me I will never drive a car in my life. 2012, I started driving a car. People were shocked. Most people in my township, they bought cars after seeing me driving. They were like shocked. Ukuthi, we cannot be beaten by a disabled person. So what I'm trying to say to you, support your child, love your child as much as you can. Be there for your child. Don't give up on your child. Be strong. Even even they gossip about you anyway. Would you have a child like this? Say thank you. I have that child, and I have a blessing.
Buye, let me come in there. Who's
Thank you, Buye.
Precious? Aboba normal. We have normal kids. Kodwa basahleba ngathi. So can you imagine when? That's why I'm saying when Siswami, I want you to be heads on and to fight for what is right for your child. Umtanaga Suzette is 24. Umntana kaSuzette uphekisile, a special child. She was here,
Okay.
she shared earlier on. Uyazwisisa, my sister. So that's why I'm saying your child is going to be 1 in a million. Because why? Umama akhe fought for him. Uyazwisisa.
Yeah, I understand.
It's not gonna be easy. Mamela, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I precious. It's not gonna be easy. I'm telling you, abo offense ba normal. Kodwa the way sihleshwa ngakhona siswami. The way kuthiwa, whoop, sizombona lokuthi uzoyiqeda grade 12. Now, can you imagine about you with a special child? It's not gonna be easy. Guys, 0:00, I'm closing. I lost my speech therapist. Buye, did you finish advising? Because ngene emlomeni, my brother Askis.
Oh, no, 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 it's okay, sis. So as I was like saying, sis, be strong. Like people, they always talk. They always talk. Tina, as children with special needs, we are the most people. Mina, I've seen Muti government. Lot of people in Africa, South Africa. We are not. We are not seen. We are not verbal. So to us as people with special needs, we feel like I am nothing. So to protect your child, to protect your daughter, watching while he has that challenge, love that child. Love that child to the over the moon. Love that child. I mean, I had a mother who loved me over the moon, and I love her too. Wherever she is, she knew that I love her too much. Food. So love her, support her. Let ufuna something. Noba awunayo lento leyo, just tell him I will try to get it. Khona lapho uNkulunkulu azokupha khona amandla, ukhona ukumupha yona. Ngiyabonga guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Buye.
you, Butoye. Thank you so much.
Buye, thanks. Siswami, it's not gonna be an easy road, believe me. It's not gonna be a road that is full of roses. Tomorrow off, I say love, peace, and happiness.
Ladies and gents, that's it. Thank you so much for watching the live that I hosted where I was talking about learning disabilities. I hope this live will touch many lives. Maybe you can share it with your friends and family. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye.